it's funny how all of this has gone down for you. It hasn't even been a year since you first found out that
I found out in September.
In September.
Yeah. And, of course, you don't do anything because you have to have all these tests and all that garbage.
I felt the same way. Like it feels like this whole cancer thing for me was so long ago. But no, I didn't learn until December. Mm-hmm. And I've already gone through all of that. So they don't waste any time.
Oh, no.
They want you, but you went through the surgery. They thought the surgery might take care of it all.
Yeah.
And then the word probably came in. Yeah. Maybe you should have radiation.
Well,
again, all this since September. It's crazy.
And I had, they do a biopsy. I'll never hear a staple gun in an office will never be the same. Because when you get a biopsy, that's what it sounds like when they to take the samples.
And they don't they put you under or anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
So anyway, I came back with 6 out of 12 samples pop positive for cancer. So and then the biopsy also talks about external extension, which means it spread. But we don't want to use the word spread. So I had some indicators. Dr. Mariotto sat me down. They wait about 4 months after surgery before they do radiation. Mm-hmm. And he sat me down and he said, look, your numbers are great. However, after analyzing the prostate post-op, here's what we learned. 2.5 millimeters here, half a millimeter there, extension. And so he went down through 4 or 5 different indicators that would make having the radiation more favorable. And I had a great experience. I mean, it's not like I love the guy. We don't play cribbage together.
Yeah.
But he was a great doctor, doctor. And I even asked him, I said, what do you see? Because they take x-rays of you every day before they zap you. Mm-hmm. I says, Doc, how do you know this is going well? He took me in the room, pulled up the screen, showed me the pictures so I could see what he saw. Pointed out what he was looking for because it meant nothing to me. But I got to see the insides of me for a change.
Right.
And I have had nothing but a positive experience with him and AMP.
It is it's an experience you wish you never had to have.
Oh, yeah. It'd be nice to have never met the guy.
Yeah,
but
right.
I'm
sorry, but we would rather have never met you.
Right.
But it is it's you owe them your life, and you feel that way. There's an emotional connection.
I thank the good Lord above. And my friends and family and parishioners for praying for me. I believe strongly in the power of prayer, and for the gifts that God gave the doctor and his staff that they utilize quite well.
Yeah.
Yep,
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And Tim Reed and a group, including myself.
Yeah.
Small group. We're working on a program, and I've talked to you about this, and I think we
I've heard your PSAs on the radio,
and that's kind of what this is. We're working on and we just met with. We're going to be working with the Community Foundation, and Tim will be on tomorrow to talk more about it. But it is it's about getting tested. And it's about, for some reason, guys avoid getting tested.
Yeah, early detection is key.
It's the only cure we really know.
Yeah, well, when you have prostate cancer, this Gleason score becomes very important.
Yeah.
I was a Gleason 6 when they found it, and by the time I went in for surgery and they analyzed the prostate, I was a Gleason 7.
So it was moving quickly.
It was moving.
Yeah.
And it might have been a 7 when they tested. They just couldn't,
right.
You can only see so much when you stick a rod up your duff and start nipping away.
Right.
But it was early detection for me, and that's key for anybody.
Yeah.
Go and how hard is it? You have to get your blood done anyway. Mm-hmm. Just say, hey, would you say to your doctor, I'd like a PSA included. They're going to check your lipids. They're going to check this. They're going to check that.
I will have mine done. I've not tested for that.
Yeah, just do it.
So I have mine next week.
And that's just you. You would just ask while they're doing the blood test to test for that as well?
Yeah. I think most doctors would include it when you hit my age. But they're finding when I was in radiation, I mean, there were guys there. I'm 54 this year, and there were guys there younger than I.
The one thing that that is a problem, and maybe I just concluded this on my own, but it is a problem. Why, when young people get cancer, younger people get cancer, it oftentimes, I don't want to say it oftentimes, but what happens is you weren't testing them. So they had early detection. doesn't exist. So you're not going to test somebody at 25 years old for cancer.
Right.
So they don't realize until there are real warning signs and.
Right.
And
then
by that point, it has
already
progressed.
Yeah.
And you can't
That's
always
where
tell
the
because I
problem
had no
comes in.
external signs.
Right.
You know, I
That's
had
the
a
thing.
good flow, shall we
Right.
say.
Yeah.
I didn't go often. When I went like a racehorse.
Yeah.
I didn't have to wake up at night to go. I had absolutely no external signs. The digital exam showed no swelling or enlargement. It was purely a blood test is where they found it. And so you don't know.
Yeah.
And you don't want to live in fear.
Yeah.
But by George, I mean, you look at the money we spend to make us look good on the outside. Clothes and gel for your hair and all that garbage, fancy watch. I love it, man.
Well, you just keep looking at Andrew. Clothes.
Yeah. But why wouldn't you
Yeah, I
just?
know.
And you don't have to give any extra blood. The other thing I found was urinalysis. Every time I went to see the urologist, I'd have to, leave a little donation. Operation Golden Flow, as we call it in the Navy.
Okay.
And then, so what they did is they monitored my post-op to make sure there were no infections in the bladder or anywhere else. And it's amazing the things they find. I wanted to bring Abby's in for a sample. Just give them my dog's pee one day. See
what's in there.
See if they can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is so this program we're starting, we'll be working through the Community Foundation.
Yep.
And it is basically a nonprofit that is going to do with one goal, one mission, and that is to get guys to get tested.
Yeah.
Period. Because even with colonoscopies, I can't tell you the number of people I've talked to that have said they're in their 50s and they haven't had a colonoscopy yet.
Right.
That's a real problem.
Yeah.
And I was one of those.
And absolutely, and that's what uncovered the cancer. But I want to warn people, ladies especially, it's not just for men.
Right.
Early
that
detection for everybody.
No, but the colonoscopy,
the
specifically.
The difference between men and women is women take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Women have, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that they have to go to see a gynecologist, and that's something early on. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But women get tested. It's the men, so it's a gender problem, and that's what this whole program is about, going after these guys that procrastinate.
Well, and there's the image, nobody's going to stick something up my derriere.
There is a little something with
it's
that,
like,
too.
Dude,
Just put it
you know,
out there,
it's-
don't you?
It is
get
true.
over it.
That is a whole.
Nobody's thinking of that. I can guarantee you the doctor's not thinking of that. You're the one that has the problem.
I have to tell you, that is absolutely right. And I'm thinking about all these other things, like just it's embarrassing. You're going in if you have any pride at all, you're kissing that pride goodbye.
Well, that's true.
Everything becomes exposed.
It's humbling.
And it's humbling.
But I will say this. Now,
But you forget about that crap. Let me just tell you, you're not thinking about that.
No.
When they're preparing to cut you open.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not something
When
to
I
think
had
about.
my biopsy, it's humbling.
Yeah.
You anyway, I will say this. Dr. DeRosalie is my urologist, also a member of AMP. And I even told him afterwards, not once did I feel humiliated.
Right.
And there's a difference.
Yeah, that's really big.
Their approach, the way they treat you.
Yeah.
The involving you in what's going on, so you're aware at every moment.
Yeah.
Now that's been my experience. Other people may say, "Oh, I had the worst doctor in the world," but it is humbling. But I never, in this entire process, did I ever feel humiliated.
That's really that's extremely important.
It's a testimony to professionalism.
Yeah, it is. So they don't put you out. I would just love
No. Well, he numbs you, but he's got to stick the needle up there to numb the prostate, and then it's like, and I God forgive me, but
it's so different when you say it.
the first,
Because you know it's going to be really bad.
Yeah.
when you lay down and he says, "All right, here's what I'm going to do," and then he does it, and that's a one-way street, and he's going the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Hello,"
Yeah,
I said, "Doc,
Yeah.
you got to." So then he started talking to me one step at a time, and he says, "Now you're going to feel the needle," and you do. He says, "This is we're going to numb it up," but he says, "You're going to feel the needle.
Right,
You won't feel
right.
anything after that." And he wasn't wrong. You heard it,
Yeah.
but you didn't feel it.
Yeah.
And then he
I mean,
told
same
me
thing
how-
with the stinking catheter.
the catheter was brutal. I had that thing put in wide awake, and my God, they could hear me
I gotta
scream in
leave,
Ohio. Jeepers, creepers. And I looked at that because they got to scope you first with the camera and everything to make sure they put it in the right place. So it's laying on my chest, and I looked down at that thing, and I looked up at the doctor.
That ain't gonna work. Yeah.
Young, and he was a young kid. This is up in
Got
Chicago.
anything smaller?
Yeah, I said, "There's no way that's going to fit up there."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh yeah, it will." I'm like,
Yeah, I had that was one of my biggest fears. And,
I
and
can't even.
and they
Yeah, I'll tell you anything. State
said-
secrets, anything. Just don't do that again.
they told me don't.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm completely with you. It's the one thing I feared.
Yeah.
And see, I won't have to worry because I'm going to be under when they put it in.
Right.
And taking it out isn't as
No, taking it out was fine.
depends on whether you're taking it out slowly or I prefer ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yep.
That's the way to do it. But it just brings me back to that guy on TV. He's like, I'm flying this helicopter. Have you ever seen this commercial?
No.
I'm flying this helicopter, and life's so good now that I have these catheters.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And they apparently get them by mail, and that's somebody that's got to use a catheter.
They're smoother eyelets.
All the time, apparently.
That's
and
one thing
he
that
looks so happy.
The one thing that this experience did is, and probably the same with you, is the catheter was temporary. And it made me more aware of the men and women who a catheter is lifetime.
Is life. That's exactly what that commercial is about. So, yeah. So there's a lot of things. If you walk away feeling thankful, right?
And then I got to deal with old ladies that complain about mass time. Yeah. And it's like, look, sister,
Really?
Yeah.
That is too short or too long?
That's funny.
No. What time it is?
Right.
They never
right.
complain that my services are too long.
No,
That's what I was going to say.
You're in, you're out. You teach the right lessons, and you're entertaining.
But so now the big thing is to go with the Navy because my physical is in August.
Okay.
And so it's been a year since I've had a physical, and in that year all this happened.
Right.
So the Navy's aware. I'm no secrets.
Right.
But now it'll actually be documented. And so that'll be the next administrative battle.
Okay.
Oh, to
you can't lie. Have you ever been diagnosed with cancer? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ding, 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 ding.
Do you think they could discharge you?
No. No. The doctor, I already spoke with the Navy, and they told me exactly what they need from the doctor.
Yeah.
I spoke to the doctor, so I'm all prepared for the physical. But it'll be in August.
Yeah.
And it's just so you get an illness and you get it taken care of, but there is all of the side effects, aren't there?
Yeah.
Aren't all physical. They're administrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're mental.
Yeah.
They're emotional.
It's on your record now, and that's something that I tried to keep off my medical record as long as I could. But once it's official, it's on your medical record, and it will affect you down the road.
Yeah.
In financial situations, insurance, and that sort of thing. So
Right.
you got to be aware of that. Father Sean and I went to college together.
Yeah.
You performed my
Baptism?
wedding ceremony, the
wedding?
baptism of my daughter.
No, I didn't do your baptism. I baptized the baby.
My daughters, yeah.
The wedding, yeah.
And
what's his name? Ryan Nobles.
Ryan
you had him
Nobles.
on the radio once in a while. He was there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you were at Lady of Lourdes.
I started at Our Lady of Lourdes in Utica, New York, with Monsignor Sewell and then Monsignor Donovan and then Father Don Carlin. Instead of moving me, usually a young priest moves around. I stayed in the same church and went through 3 pastors. One had a stroke, one had a heart attack. The other one had me transferred while he was still healthy. And then they sent me to where? Forestport.
Yeah.
Forestport and Otter Lake. And then from there, Pulaski. And then Boonville, Forestport and Otter Lake.
Yeah.
And I love that area so much. I'll get buried there at St. Pat's. I got my plot there in Forestport. And,
you love it up there.
Oh, Remsen, Forestport,
yeah.
Boonville, Alder Creek. You can't beat that area.
Yeah. How do you, as you get older, and let's be honest, we're in our 50s now.
I don't plan on living to be 108, so
Okay.
I'm well past halfway.
So I would ask you, do they afford you any spot? Like, if you want to stay in a certain area or a certain congregation, do you get that choice, or does the diocese say, nope, we're moving you now to,
Both. Both.
Yeah.
I think that they'll work with you. The older you get, the more they try to get you closer to home.
Yeah.
They try. But when you're ordained, and we just had Father Nate Brooks was just ordained the 1st of June, and a great young man. He's going to be a fantastic priest. I believe they sent him to Cortland for his first assignment.
Okay.
The bishop puts you put your hands together like in prayer, right? You put your hands together. The bishop puts his hands over yours, looks you square in the eyes, and asks you through the PA system. Everybody can hear it.
Yeah.
Do you promise obedience to me and to my successors? And the ordained guy says, yes, I do. And so, so there is that element too, where while the diocese would try to help a guy if he wants to stay in Rome or stay in Broome County or
If
whatever.
they tell you, though.
Yeah, but in the end, I mean, you promise obedience and you put the diocese first. So if they need me in Oswego, if they need me in Taberg, if they need me in Utica again, the bishop calls and says, hey, look, here's our need. Here's why I think you would be a good fit. Boom. And you do it.
Yeah.
You do it.
You talked about, the bishop talking about him and his successors. Big news recently, Syracuse Diocese is getting a new bishop.
Father Doug Lucia.
Doug Lucia.
2 years older than I am.
Now, Bishop Cunningham is a young guy, healthy guy. Is it
He's
just
not young.
that's,
He's 76.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, if I look that all right at 76, I'll be happy.
He's in great shape.
Yeah.
But so is that just his term is done, or has he decided to retire?
No, he retired at 75. So he submitted his papers last year, and then they will either accept them or not. And they did. They accepted it, and then it took them a year to find somebody. And that's a whole separate process there. But so now the new bishop is not even a bishop yet. He's not even a Monsignor.
Okay.
Very smart man from what I don't know him, but so we've all been doing reading, who's the dude coming in.
Because they come from outside the diocese, right?
Generally, Bishop Harrison was actually the only one born and raised here. There was another Bishop Cunningham way back in the 60s and early 70s, but he wasn't born here. I think he was from Montana or Minnesota or whatever. Anyway, so Father Lucia has to be ordained a bishop. Then he'll be appointed, he's been appointed, then he'll be installed as our bishop. And Bishop Cunningham, thank God, is staying. He's from Buffalo. He's not retiring in his hometown. He's going to stay here.
Okay.
He'll help with confirmations, but he'll also be available for mentoring and spiritual direction for us priests.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And he's been here, 10 years now, and as our bishop. And I have no doubt that I'll like the new guy. I can guarantee you I love Bishop Cunningham.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been... When I was overseas, he got a hold of my parents. He anointed me in case anything would happen to me while I was there, and he's been an excellent spiritual dad.
I want to ask you, speaking of, because I don't think I've really ever gotten into this with you. At what point, we're going to college.
Right.
We're radio and television.
Right. I wanted to do what you're doing, the Sean O'Brien show. Get married, have kids.
At what point?
It's got a ring to it.
At what point did you decide, I think I'm going to become a priest?
For me, it was a long term, so I can't really tell you.
Yeah.
It wasn't like some guys had this aha moment.
Okay.
And for me, I can tell you at what point I didn't. I can tell you at what point I decided I didn't want radio, but I can't tell you at what point I decided I wanted the priest to study for the priesthood.
Well, you probably didn't want radio when you realized the paychecks.
No, yeah.
Being a priest actually
you
would
make
pay
more
better.
than I do. No, what turned me off from radio is all the automation.
Yeah.
Hometown radio. So up north, when I'm in Remsen, I listen to WLLG, WIBX out of Lowville, Boonville, right? Mm-hmm. And George Capron is there, and Brian and them. And they still do birthdays, funeral. They still read obituaries. They still
it's a
read
hometown,
the school lunch.
very much a hometown.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Bill Parker was the radio announcer down in Binghamton years ago. Mm-hmm. And in my boyhood, and listening to him on the radio is what got me into it, because it was still hometown radio then.
Right.
It's very hard to find. I mean, you bring a very you have kept a very close connection with the community in your radio program. Mm-hmm. But let's face it, most of it's piped in, most of the music. Jack Moran, God rest his soul, had me come down on Sundays, and I'd come down on Friday, and in 45 minutes I would tape a 3-hour show for Sunday afternoon.
Right.
I'd be at your house for dinner, and I'd be on the radio.
I know.
And that's why I got out of radio.
It's changed and I'm sure you don't regret that.
Nope.
I mean, what you do, you love what you do.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I love it.
Was military
I
before priesthood?
think other people feel you're really good at it, by the way.
So you also, the military decision came before the priesthood decision as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to be a signalman in the Navy. But, I'm naive. You're watching TV and you're watching these old World War II movies on TV, and the guy's up there on the weather bridge wing, and he's flashing that light that's got the blinds on it, and he's out in the weather, and I'm like, wow, that's me.
Yeah.
And so I went down to see a recruiter, and he said there will be no signalman, in 20 years or whatever.
Right,
so
right.
don't do that.
Yeah.
So then I wanted to join the cavalry. The charge of the light brigade, cannons to the right of them, cannons to the left of them. Then I found out the cavalry is all like helicopters. I went, the heck with that. So, I wanted horses. So I went. I was a dumb kid. I went to I went to college for radio announcing. But I've always been close to the church. I mean, my going to church was like mowing the lawn or doing your chores.
Yeah.
My parents never had to fight to get us to church. It's just what you did. And so little by little that happened. And while I was in the seminary, that's when I joined the Navy. So I was in the Navy. May 28th was my 28th anniversary with the Navy, 1991. And then June 5th we just had, that was my 26th anniversary as a priest.
Oh, wow, okay.
So you left college in '84. Did you go on to another?
I went
to
to
a four-year
I
school?
went to Ogdensburg, actually,
Okay,
Wadhams Hall, and got a bachelor's degree in philosophy.
Got it. Okay.
And then went on from there.
And then, and at that point, you probably had made the decision that you were going
That's
to the
where
seminary.
that was the turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I made just awful decisions. So it's so nice to talk to somebody who's made great decisions. Planned out his life. It's pretty
I
good.
don't know about that.
All morning long, and I think back to the days when we were in college, and to predict, I never in a million years would have thought that you would be marrying me and my wife as a priest, but we all ended up in where we belong. So,
it was a great time. David Champeau and Cal Sokolov and that whole crew.
That was a good program. Yeah,
They were,
which no longer exists.
Right, we were there at a
Sadly.
good time because they had quality staff.
They truly did. Yes.
Two things quickly. One, I just thought of something when you said that Father Sean married you and your wife. Now, you said you never thought that would happen. Bill sometimes marries people. Did you ever think that would happen?
That's true. I have married someone before.
Oh, do you have a license to do that?
I got it online. Yeah,
$50 in the back of Rolling Stones
well,
magazine.
it's a certificate.
Yeah, it might have cost me about $100 today.
I was wondering his take.
What your take on that would be,
Whatever.
Yeah, he said, "Would you get that in the back of a magazine?"
Yeah, which is exactly where I got it.
I was thinking about getting my PhD. They have a great program now. I think I saw it in the back of Rolling Stones. It might have been Better Homes and Gardens when I was at the barbershop. Anyway, it's like $75 and 15-page paper.
Really?
And boom, you get your PhD
That's
from
crazy.
PhDsRus.com or whatever it is.
There's a lot of things you can get online these days. Yes, that is true. But you had something
just
about
the second thing quick. I went to Our Lady of Lourdes one year. I went to St. Agnes and they closed, and then so I had my 6th grade year at Our Lady of Lourdes, and you were the pastor priest. We just called you Father Sean. I don't know what your title was, but I have to tell you, 6th grade, you're probably 11, 12 years old. It's not really a cool time to talk about God and religion and everything, but you were a hit. Everybody loved you. I mean, and it would be like, I just have to imagine at some point when you move around, people go, "Oh boy, there's a stick in the mud coming in," because nobody's like you. They made you and they threw away the mold.
Right. There's usually 2 parties when I leave. There's a party for me before I leave, and then there's a party after I leave.
Yeah.
And, so it depends on who you are. Yeah.
Well, interesting. I just wanted to say that.
The check is in the mail.
I will say though that the church has changed a great deal, and maybe it hasn't. So, but I'd like your opinion on this. For instance, I'm not Catholic. I'm a Methodist. My wife is Catholic.
Right.
But you afforded us a lot of opportunity that I don't think would have been done in the 1960s. For instance, I have an aunt who was excommunicated because she married after her husband died.
Yeah, my grandpa was fired. My father's father, was the groundskeeper at St. Mary's on Fayette Street in Binghamton, and he worked for the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And he got fired because he went to a Protestant wedding back in the 40s.
Wow.
He attended it?
Yeah.
That's why he got
his buddy who worked at the railroad station, they worked in the railroad together, and the priest told him, you cannot go to that wedding. Wow. And this is in the 40s now.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandpa said, we worked together on the railroad. I'm going.
Yeah.
And so he was no longer the groundskeeper at St. Mary's.
Wow.
Now you fill out paperwork. For the Catholic, it's harder because the Catholic has to promise as best he or she can to raise their kids Catholic and keep the faith.
Yeah.
And then you get the dispensation for that and a mixed marriage. And but it's but I don't know if that's really a change. I mean, that's more of a better understanding. Now we're going through changes. This church is consolidating. That church has to close. But it's the party's over. We went. I always like to say to people, we're going back to the federal period, and before that, the colonial period. When I think we have enough priests. We have too many parishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Italian parish, the Jesuit parish, the Franciscan parish, the Irish parish, the German parish. You can't afford to do that anymore.
Right.
And
I wonder why.
There
was lower turnout. I mean, what is?
No, it's 50,000 people left the state of New York last year.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mario Cuomo.
Yeah.
So
Andrew.
or Andrew. Yeah, Mario was his dad, just as bad.
That's true.
So anyway. I mean, U-Haul, they have a poster on Route 365 between Rome and Verona, a U-Haul poster. And it says, our biggest supporter, and there's a picture of Mario Cuomo.
Wow.
That's funny.
It's, the small mom-and-pop businesses. Yeah. Was it you that had it on the radio? Or was it, I can't remember, because I listened to a different station. I lose you when I get to Sullivan, town of Sullivan. 10,000 small businesses in the state of New York in the next 10 years or 15 years are going to just disappear.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to do business here, period.
People are retiring, and there's no one to replace them.
They make it more difficult with new laws
right.
and new regulations and that sort of thing. It certainly is. I am out of time. Actually, I'm over time. Always happens with you.
Always happy to be here.
And I really appreciate it. Happy to be here. It means so much more than it did from a year ago. So.
Yeah.